Well, good evening once again and welcome. It's Monday night, it's 8 p.m. and it's time for the Monday Review Show. You're more than welcome to send in your comments or ask questions. There's a little thing down on the right-hand side of your screen there. You can leave your comments there or, as I said, join the show. Delighted to be joined once again by former Premier League referee, former FIFA referee, and former head of the PGMOL, Keith Hackett. Thanks again for joining me, Keith. When are they going to make you? I'm almost tempted to say Sir Keith Hackett. Do you think that's like?
I don't think that'll ever happen.
Well, you never know. You never know.
I've upset too many people.
Lots of things happening last week. But
Yes.
Two instances that stuck out in your mind, and I also made note of them. Firstly, the Southampton-Liverpool game, where Adam Lallana, former Liverpool player, I don't know if there was was he seeking some kind of retribution or I don't know, whatever. But do you reckon he should have had a red card?
I do. I think there's a lot of confusion within the group of referees in terms of what is serious foul play and what is excessive force. And we've seen a number of challenges where the player has come in and the direction of the foot is not towards the ball or a challenge for the ball. It's actually aimed at the man. And and in this case landed on the top of the foot at the lower leg. A very vulnerable area for a football player, and painful. And for me, I think that they've got to get a grip of these particular challenges, because at the moment, someone has set the bar in England and putting these in to the category of reckless. Whereas I would suggest that they're in the category of serious foul play. And
just to clarify that, Keith, it's got to be serious foul play for a red card.
Well, I think that if you've got endangering the safety of the opponent with excessive force, then that's a red card. Serious foul play, of course, I mean, it is clear in law in terms of its interpretation. And I'll read it because I think it's important.
Yeah, please do.
Right, a tackle or challenge that endangers the safety of an opponent or uses excessive force or brutality must be sanctioned as serious foul play. Any player who lunges at an opponent in challenging for the ball from the front, from the side, or from behind, using one or both legs with excessive force or endangers the safety of an opponent is guilty of serious foul play. For me, if we take this particular challenge, it endangers the safety of an opponent. We shouldn't be waiting for the outcome. We should actually say that challenge in its format is unacceptable. If we jump to the Leicester versus Chelsea game, there was Ndidi on this occasion raking his arm. So he's come in and he's made the challenge halfway up the back of the player's leg and then raked it down. And it's beyond me that anybody could say that is acceptable. I don't think it is. Where we have a contentious decision,
because
was in the Everton game, and I'm jumping about a little bit because I'm actually showing some of the dangers here of what we saw was a ball came across. I don't think the forward had a good view of it. And he made the challenge for the ball. In doing so, he's hit the goalkeeper. Now, we have a discussion. Is that reckless or is it serious foul play? The referee on this occasion, by the way, issued a red card instantly. I thought it was harsh. So I'm giving you, if you like...
I reckon he was wrong to issue the red card.
I'm giving you a range of a lack of consistency, that word that we hear in refereeing a lot. But I just want to, if I was in charge of the PGMOL, I'd be having the referees in, I'd be showing these clips, and I'd be saying, right, okay, are we going to handle these in a consistent manner? Because if we allow them to persist without sanction, the danger is they'll become the norm. And then you've got more players finishing up on the bench and out of the game. So I do think it's a worrying area for me in terms of those challenges. It's interesting because I started to watch some of the Scottish games this weekend. And in the St Mirren game, a player came in, the landing area was just top of the foot, bottom of the leg, instant card. No, instant card. And I think to myself, look, I think he might well have, and I'm just looking at my notes in that situation. Right. Right.
Yeah, you said
he made a sliding tackle. Yeah, he made a sliding tackle. The contact wasn't as clear as I'm talking about, but on this occasion, the VAR came in. The referee had a second look and decided to downgrade it. The point on the other two is that the VAR didn't come in. And I think this is what is concerning me is the lack of consistency on these challenges that, in my opinion, endanger the safety of an opponent. Where do you draw that line to get consistency? Because the Ndidi one, right, was, for me, absolute black and white. There's no grey area in that. Off he goes. Lallana, for me, clearly black and white, he should have gone. The goalkeeper one was, in my opinion, grey. In others, obviously, the referee's come in, he's given a red card. I didn't expect the VAR to come in. He could have come in and he could have said, look, I haven't just confirmed your decision, because I thought I was more towards reckless, but, I'm not going to criticise the referee. The referee's got one view. He's seen it as a red card offence. He's come in and he's issued it. I don't have an issue.
Do you think, Keith, the careless, reckless and serious foul play, do you think that the referees are using the reckless as an excuse? I'm going to be critical here now, so as maybe to not to give a red card. Are they bottling?
Well, they can't do that in law, because reckless is this. Reckless is when a player acts with disregard to the danger to or consequences for an opponent and must be cautioned. So you're right. I've read the law, and your observation is one worthy of your thoughts and discussion, because I think you might be right. I've not thought of that, Errol. You've actually enlightened me and our listeners, because that might very well be the case, that they are putting it under the umbrella of reckless when it ought to be in serious foul play.
Yeah.
And one of those things is maybe because they're saying, well, we want excessive force to get into that serious foul play zone. But if a player is stamping down with one foot on the ground, stamping down and raking down the back, as Ndidi did, I don't think there's any doubt that that's a red card. But you're right. I think it's a good observation.
Because I never understand that, because like the guy in Scotland, gave the red card, and then VAR said, no, have a look at it, and it was changed. So why don't they do it? You have the guts, have the bottle to give a red card, give the extreme. It can always be changed. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, you give a penalty, and a penalty can be overruled by VAR and say, no, it's not a penalty. But why can't they do the same? And I find that, and I don't mean to be critical now of our colleagues in the Premier League, but they just don't seem to have the backbone and the guts to make the ultimate decision to give the red card. Are they afraid? Are they scared of the repercussions from the players, from the press?
Yeah, I don't think they should do. I think they've reached the level. They are elite referees. They're the best referees allegedly in the country. I
like the word you use, allegedly.
Yeah, well, they're 30 referees, 20 odd referees out of 30,000 approximate referees that are registered in England. So they've worked their way to the top. They've done a lot of hard work to get there. They've hit the fences and they've climbed over them, and they've been marked by clubs, marks initially, marked by assessors, and all that goes with it. When they get to the elite level, they've got to have an understanding of law application at its best. And they've got to have an understanding of the, I spent some time and did a compilation of clips on careless, reckless, and excessive force. And the reasoning being was to try and aim at consistency. These challenges sit in that box, careless. These challenges sit in reckless, And I think, again, I go back to this point. The Premier League referees set the example for many referees around the world, operating at grassroots level, operating in various leagues around the world. Last week with the Coots situation, I was inundated with emails from around the world, interviews in Argentina, America, Canada. It shows the reach of the Premier League. Yeah. And I just think that VAR is there to assist, and I'm clear that it's not being used properly. And, it was refreshing to hear Howard Webb say, if my referees want to stick with a decision on field, even though the VAR's called to them, they can do, then I think that is the lead that is providing that referees should stick to. Excuse me.
Yeah. I just find they lack that little bit of backbone. And I often wonder, is it scared of the repercussions from the players, from the coaching staff, from the crowd and the TV, instead of making the decision now that they have VAR to fall back on? They should be more forthcoming with making decisions. In the past, I could understand it to a degree that they could be found out by action replays on the TV without the official VAR. But now that they have VAR as a crutch to lean on, they should be a little bit more brave to make decisions and stand by them until proven otherwise.
Well, what we are seeing is that microscopic forensic examination of decisions through television and various other aspects, it flags up the flaws that we're actually witnessing in refereeing, the inconsistency, interpretation. We get a red card one week, we don't get a red card the next. We get a flurry of yellow cards when we would expect a more proactive management role. That doesn't mean to say I don't want yellow cards given. I want the law applied, but a referee should be in a preventative role and check players when he thinks that they're actually moving out of control or losing some self-control. These are things that I think you don't have to stop the game. You can actually run alongside the player and use that quiet word to good effect. And what was interesting this weekend, in a game that Anthony Taylor appreciated, it was the best of Anthony Taylor. Played good advantages, didn't resort to the yellow card because he got the respect of the players. He gave the players respect. He played some really good advantages. And he came off, and I thought, that's the best I've seen Anthony Taylor referee in England in the last year. So as a podcast, we're not always about hammering the referees. So here's a referee who's demonstrated this weekend very efficiently that he can referee the game, referee it well, get the decisions right without VAR. He's making the calls. And I just think that there's some referees who are hesitant. You know, I look at this situation. I like Sam Borrett. Sam Borrett is a really good referee. Solid.
Oh, he did the game yesterday.
Yeah.
Ipswich and United, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it?
And if you remember, there was an incident, a foul on the edge of the penalty area, where it looked that it was outside the area when the whistle was blown. It was so close it was untrue.
Oh, this is the Liverpool game.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I thought he's made it. He got caught slightly out of position. Now, if you're looking at a line from some distance, the ball, and this is the experiments that we did with the goal line technology that I've talked about in the past. Mm-hmm. You can make a ball appear as though it's over the line and not over the line. And in this situation, he's made the call. It's correct. It's a foul. But it looks, on the face of it, that it's outside the area. The question I would ask is, one, if you're going to give the penalty kick, be sure. But he's got VAR, so he's given it. Now, did the assistant, under the process, we're looking for the assistant, aren't we, to actually say it's in or out? What did the assistant do in that situation? Because if it's in, the process is for that assistant referee to run towards the flag.
Sure.
That's an indication that it's a penalty kick. Did he actually run to the flag? Because it wasn't on screen. VAR came in. Michael Oliver was the VAR. And he didn't intervene. He stuck with the on-field decision because it wasn't clear. And I'm thinking the technology ought to and should bring accuracy to that decision. And again, I think the technology could have helped the referee by the referee going to the monitor, looking at it again and saying, right, I'm sticking with my decision. And that helps to reduce the amount of controversy in that one decision. But he's a good referee, Sam Borrett.
And there again, Keith, you'd wonder, with all the technology that's available, and yet the technology could not make a decision, yay or nay. So they left it to the human to make a decision.
Yeah,
now, I got lots of correspondence as well. Was it in? Was it out? Etc. And I quoted the laws that the lines belong to the areas of which they are boundaries.
Correct.
And unlike rugby, where you put your foot on the line, you're out of play. In football, the line, if it happens on the line, it's actually inside
the area.
You know, if VAR couldn't make a decision whether it was in or out, and they have slow motion and blah 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 from different angles, and the referee hasn't, how in God's name can the referee make a decision? But I admired him. He initially gave the penalty and he stuck to his decision. And in my opinion, it was on the line when contact was made. So therefore, he was 100% correct. Others were saying, no, it happened outside. No, it was on the line, in my opinion. And Sam Barrett, isn't it? Yeah, was correct in getting the
ultimately that was seen correctly, I think, as the referee's call. And the referee's call was a penalty kick, so the penalty kick stood. But again, the technology is there or available, but they don't have it if you like, set for that particular scenario. And when we look at the semi-automated system that we've talked about in the past, again, that would help that process once the cameras are in and the accuracy is greater than the prescribed current broadcast speed cameras.
Keith, the City-Chelsea game, who was that referee? Was it John Brooks?
Yes.
John Brooks. I have to admire him. And again, full marks. 52 seconds of the start of the game and he gives a yellow card.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember the guy, John, way back in the 70s? John, he gave a yellow card very early in I think it was in the cup final. Would it be John Smith?
Yeah, I think he might have been.
Was the referee called John Smith?
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
Way back then, and he gave a yellow card because they only came in after the '66 World Cup. Many people are asking me that, so and it was Ken Aston actually who was the one who was driving home from a match. I think it was after the England-Argentina game. There was a huge.
It was. And, I knew Ken really well. I've been in his company many times.
Has he passed on now, Keith?
Ken Aston, he's sadly passed away.
Okay.
Very articulate, deep thinking. I was a member of Sheffield RA when I got a call from him saying, I understand you're working in Romford on odd occasions, which was my company's head office. And I said, yeah, sure. I'm occasionally down for 2 or 3 days. And he goes, right, I want you to become a member of the Romford RA, which sadly no longer exists. But of course, he told me that story about the traffic lights and how he came to that.
And then these were developed.
Yeah. Him and Sir Stanley Rouse, was heavily involved. What is interesting about that is, and I'll show you something, probably if I can get to it. These were the first red cards issued.
Really?
Yeah. And you'll notice they're elliptical. And the reason being that the authorities in the initial stages were worried about colorblind players. And therefore, hence them going red elliptical. So that there was no doubting that was a red card to anybody that had a vision impairment in terms of color blindness.
And what, the yellow stayed like this?
The yellow stayed rectangular. There's something about the color that is less affected with color blindness, apparently.
What I used to do, I used to always put the yellow here and this one right in my back pocket in my trousers to make sure I wouldn't pull out. I see some guys now have the 2 cards together, which I think is dangerous.
It is.
Because you can pull out, you can change your mind, etc. But the danger of pulling out the wrong one is always there, and then you're made to look foolish.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a referee in Ireland who is making great progress, Mark Giles. I think he listens in to this particular program, and that was an area of discussion where you put your red and yellow card. I always said, look, the yellow card is in the hip pocket for me because I might need to, in case of a mass confrontation, pull it. It may be that sometimes you've seen a challenge that is yellow, certain opposition think it's red, and you can actually pull the yellow card out, hold it down by your side so that everybody can see it's a yellow card. Now, I think what you'll see in most practice now is that you and I probably had a book, and then we put the name in the book, and then we'd show the yellow card. We now see referees just showing the yellow card, no book. I think the first thing here is to recognise that their fourth official and the assistant is making notes of those incidents. There's a video that they can refer back to after the match to get clarification. Whereas in the local park, you don't have that.
No, of course not.
What I used to do is I used to have a white sticker on the rear of my yellow card, and I would put H9 or A9, home and away, UB, unsporting behaviour. And so I had a shorthand on the back of the card. The only danger is that you might have a yellow card already issued, and you might have the opportunity to avoid that second yellow by managing it, but you pull the yellow card out and you suddenly go, oops, it's the second yellow, red. And I think to some degree that's what Graham Poll did in the World Cup when he issued 3 yellow cards to the same player.
I know. Here's a comment from Sean Block. I think Sean sounds like he's from the USA. A Ken Aston shout out. His work with AYSO. What does that mean, Keith? You know?
Yes. I mean, I'm aware of it because it's a big organization in the States for sure.
So he said his work with AYSO in the US is still talked about often. I wondered, he says, about the color blindness angle and maybe different shapes. Well, there you go, Sean. You learned something new tonight from Keith Hackett. I certainly learned as well. I wasn't aware of that. I thought there was just the referee to help him distinguish between red and yellow, and in the heat of battle, as it were, he wouldn't pull out the wrong one. Oh, Sean has confirmed it now. Thank you very much, Sean. American Youth Soccer Organization. Lovely.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Thank
It's a fabulous organization. It's got a real structure. It's great on education, you know. And I've been fortunate. I've been across, not necessarily to address that organization, but I went to Cal South a couple of times where they got 2 guys really at the forefront of education in that part of the world. Arturo Angeles, who in fact finished up going to run the Mexican referees, did a superb job there. And George, who everybody knows, who also promotes soccer refereeing really well in that part of the world.
I think we'll have to go on a tour, Keith. What do you think? Are you game?
Yeah, I love going to America. I think that the great thing is they're very receptive and they're very thought-provoking. And they're, you know, I've sort of delivered a lecture in parts of the world where I'm thinking, are they listening? In the States, if there's something you say that they think, whoops, just a minute, they'll come back to you, and then you get a really good debate going. Yeah. Great people. And of course, I think that one of the things that they do in the States where they run tournaments, and you know, you can go on a weekend, a referee can go on a weekend and probably referee 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, they
in
do.
a tournament. And you know, they have people observing them. And therefore, it's not just a formal, this is how you've refereed. There's an opportunity to talk. There's an opportunity to have that debate and discuss, if you like, the wider brief in terms of refereeing. You know, it's about your personal standing, body language, the use of the voice, the use of the eyes. The discussion can be much broader rather than just the formality of law. It's about law interpretation and understanding, and the measurement of performance is so important. You know, I listened to an athlete today on TV, and he said, "Well, I've got diaries for the last 10 years of my athletic career, and the number of times I've encouraged referees to have a diary." and a brief report on their match. What did they eat before the game? A general notation, not a long-winded diatribe, but a notation about the highlights in the game. And then I'd like to see 3 positives and maybe 1 negative. And that then is that in that same book, and they can make reference to, because in refereeing, you can have your best day as a referee, but you come away disappointed because the players and the game itself has not actually, it's created lots of challenges, and you come away and can be like thinking, am I to blame? Or sometimes you hit a bit of a low curve because those advantages aren't going. The games are difficult. And I say to referees, look, you're on this ladder, and the more rungs you climb on that ladder, the more difficult players are, the more challenges to your authority. And these can be debilitating. You haven't lost your form. Your foundation on which you build on here can then be referred back to in your book. You're a bit off key and you're not feeling so happy because the weekend's not gone well. You can pick the book up and go, well, okay. Or it captures a trend. All of a sudden, you think you've got the game, you're much better referee, and the 10 yards or 15 yards from the ball suddenly becomes 20, 25 because you're not putting the physical effort in. I mean, all these things, I talk to referees about preparation, about recording their performance. And of course, the big thing is half time, have a Jaffa cake or a couple of jelly babies, and immediately you come off the pitch. At the end of the match, you do the same. Even before you consume a liquid, make certain that you're eating the food because that aids recovery.
Keith, we've run out of time again. My goodness, we can talk for an hour or 2 hours. But thank you once again.
Pleasure.
We do it all again.
Absolutely.
Next week.
Yeah.
Yes. The picture
Thank
just
you.
froze. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you out there for watching. And thanks, Sean, for sending in your comments. And please spread the word every Monday night, 8 o'clock, Monday Review Show. Until next Monday at 8 o'clock, bye-bye, and God bless you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.